Welcome back to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. An important topic, and that is policing and police engagement with the community. There is a report out that's incredibly important, and your feedback for those of you that are engaged in your community is incredibly important. I'm joined by Greg Jodouin. He is the president of the Public Affairs and Community Engagement Process. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here, Greg.
Thank you, Derek. It's nice to be here.
Greg, I know it's a very lengthy report, but if you could summarize some of the key points for this report to start off, what are some of those key points you'd like to summarize?
Yeah, well, essentially, my firm and an associate firm of mine, Middle Ground Policy Research, we were asked to try to come up with a new method of engagement for the Ottawa Police Services Board. They've lately, with all of the emphasis on systemic racism in policing jurisdictions across North America and elsewhere, and some pretty significant local incidents here that were race-related, the board has come to recognize that they have lost the trust of the community, and particularly from racialized communities. And the engagement process that the board currently follows is probably making that worse. So they have a very structured, very traditional process.
Yeah, what is
and
that?
It doesn't allow
Greg,
for.
I just want to stop you there. Yep. So what does that process look like as far as engagement goes that's not working?
Well, just remember that the work I'm doing is for the board.
Yes.
And the board provides direction to the Ottawa Police Services. Now, they're a small volunteer-based board, and most of the engagement that they get with the community is through their monthly board meetings. It's a very structured process. There's very strict rules. People have 5 minutes to present their case on an issue. And the board may or may not ask questions based on those presentations. There's no exchange. There's no two-way dialogue. There's no deep dive on, on complex issues.
Right.
And because of that structure, it tends to exacerbate the relationship. So it's already strained, and then you have your 5 minutes, and you're kind of cut off on that point, and you're not part the thinking around the solutions. You just have your 5 minutes. And it has led to a lot of frustration within the community.
So then, Greg, does this
it's
report
reached its boiling point recently.
Right. Does this report then give some recommendations on how to regain that trust, how to build those relationships?
Yes, that's right, it does. So we have 3 core recommendations. One is that the board needs to adopt a set of principles of meaningful engagement. That's kind of a basic one. The second recommendation is that the board needs to look at engagement in 2 streams. Currently, it only has what we call a consultation stream. So people make their case, and then the board deliberates on that without any kind of public participation in that. We're recommending a second stream, which is what we're calling a deliberative stream. So that's creating a space for a deep dive discussion on complex, sensitive matters with members of the community. It still is rules based,
right?
But it does allow for a safe space discussion around things like systemic racism or police reform, without getting into these 5-minute delegations where people feel they kind of have to be louder than the other to make their case.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure the board can create that space for deliberative discussion.
For people that are watching and perhaps want to find out more information and they want to share their own personal feedback, is that encouraged?
Absolutely. So, the basis of our research was to do interviews with community leaders from racialized communities and from the executive of service agencies whose clientele tend to be racialized communities. But we know these interviews, there's only so many we can do. We want to get broader input from that. So the report has been made public on the Ottawa Police Services Board's website. It's available there. There's an ability to send comments, and there's an email address that sends it to my firm.
Okay.
I'll be reviewing all of the comments we've received, and then we'll be updating that report based on this broader public input that we're receiving.
Yeah, and I mentioned off the top, Greg, just how incredibly important this report is, and how important it is to get the feedback so that, you know, we can start moving forward and you know, not continuing to talk about what needs to be done, but actually working on solutions. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure taking you there, Derek. Thank you.
All right, take care. Don't go away. Lots more daytime coming up right after this.